the agenda?
Yes, I have a transparency concern. We learned that the borough manager has announced her departure publicly, and there has been an announcement for 3 months transition period. Yet key information is missing, such as her next position and any potential conflicts of interest. And that cannot be resolved just by there are none, trust us or trust me or whatever. This has to be presented to the whole borough so everybody can judge if it's indeed or not. And additionally, we need to understand whether the decision made during this transition period are fully impartial and in the borough's best interest. I think, again, there are many aspects. This is not just a simple position. This is a position with extreme power. And to the best of my knowledge, nobody has ever done something like this, to extend such a position for 3 months in a for lack of a better word, lame duck situation. These decision made in this period can have consequences going forward for the borough. And I don't think that we should be the first borough to do something like that. So will the council formally address the transition in a public meeting? Will there be disclosure sufficient to rule out conflict of interest? What safeguards are in place during this period? Is there any limitation on the actions that the borough manager can do in this period? I think there should. I think we should have a minimum needed period in which she can hand over the reins, so to say, to someone else and move on. I don't think that extending this over 3 months is a good idea. Like I said, I talked to some other people, and nobody has ever considered this specifically because of the implications. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Chairperson, can I ask the public commenter a question?
I prefer not right now. All right, and then we are going to, are there any additional public comments? Okay, we are going to move to an executive session then to discuss personnel related issues, and we will resume right after that. Okay. Well, we will reconvene this meeting now following our executive session regarding personnel matters. We'll move on to number 4 in the agenda, the review of the resignation letter submitted by Borough Manager Michelle Bear. And we'll be looking for a motion to table, approve, or deny of the resignation of her last physical working day on June 8th, 2026. Sure. Yep, that's fine. So we have a motion and a second. Michelle, did you want to add any comments here?
I do. To address a public comment that was made earlier, I have spoken to our labor council. His advice is that I don't owe the borough an explanation as to where I'm going. However, to be fully transparent, I have no problem sharing that I am going to Econ Partners, the borough's grant writer. In having that conversation with our labor council, I did run the issue of a potential conflict of interest past him. His suggestion was that Section 1103 of the State Ethics Act, which I have with me, which applies to state employees, not necessarily borough employees, but his recommendation was, 1, that I do tell you where I'm going, and 2, that I follow the recommendation of 1103.G, which is effectively not to touch anything borough related for 1 year after my last day of working here. I have no intention of touching anything borough related in my future position for 1 year or further after that. I'm sorry, Melissa.
And to clarify, they also work with private industry and schools, so there's plenty of work for you. That's not-
They work with private developers,
Municipalities.
they work with the healthcare industry, they work with education, they work with many municipalities in addition to authorities. And I made it abundantly clear, I don't wanna touch anything public for a very long time, if not ever, and that was fine.
I applaud you for going to find out whether it was a conflict of interest, which, you know, for people who didn't know, I get it, but I applaud you for doing it, and I support you wholeheartedly, and really regret the fact that you're leaving, but I'm happy for you if you're happy.
Thank you. I mean, again, I have nothing to hide.
Thank you very much for giving so much advance notice, because there's a whole lot of work that you are the only person who does. And you need time to make transition. Trust you absolutely. Your integrity is fabulous. And I'm grateful for the time you offer us.
Thank you.
Yes, happy for you, but sad to see you go, and I am grateful for you helping us through this transition, not only hiring the fire chief, but everything
I'm
else.
sure there's no fairness in that.
Nothing nefarious.
To keep to her word.
Agreed. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We'll move on to the hiring process to discuss, Michelle, you give an update on the hiring process for the fire chief?
The in-person interviews for the 5 candidates are scheduled for March 31st. In person for one is gonna be virtual because he is out of state. I still then will potentially need a date from whoever is going to be on the round 2 interview committee.
Okay.
Hopefully that first full week of April, worst case scenario, the week of, would that be April 13th? And then my suggestion would be, depending on the timing of round 2 and the feel of the interviewing committee for the candidates, we could either discuss at the April council meeting, motion to appoint after discussion, or we could hold a joint personnel council meeting in April to achieve the same result.
Okay. I do know I had spoken with Jana about having her participate in the interviews, and I asked you as well. I don't know if you put any more thought into that, or if you'd like to.
Interviews for the fire chief?
We'll do that. Okay. Is it appropriate for there to be 3 of us, or is it better,
I think 3 is fine.
3 sign? Okay. Okay.
I will send you, we have the questions for round 2 ready from the last time. So I can send those out a while, and if there's anything additional you wanna add or tweak, you have time to do that.
March 31st is the first round, so we'll need to get, you said that you'll want a date from us for the first week of April, ideally. Okay, so I'll send you guys an email.
Keeping in mind the one candidate that's out of state, I would prefer to give him at least a week's notice if travel
Yeah.
arrangements need to be made.
Yeah, we can get together and
Yeah.
have some needs. Okay. Alright,
So would you remind us how many we interviewed right
I'm sorry, what?
now? How many are being interviewed now?
5.
Alright, we will move on to discuss the hiring process for the borough manager position.
No,
So,
sorry, I'm interrupted.
I had emailed all of you last night. positions, that we can look at and review and then update based on what Michelle herself is doing right now. So I think that this is a reasonable framework. I do think it's wise to work on getting an interim manager in place sooner than later to see us through the transition, rather than relying on filling it beforehand. I think that that's gonna put us against, the clock that if we have an interim manager in place, we just have a little bit more flexibility there. So that was the guidance that he's provided. Does anyone have any thoughts or anything to contribute?
Well, with the recent events with Michelle, this is another odd situation in that who knows if the person that ends up being the borough manager someday may or may not bring one of their friends along that is a good finance person.
Right.
Potentially, I mean, we have to hire that person, but maybe they have a recommendation, I don't know, but I think we do need to follow, to get this out to those. I know when, just using my world, I get notifications when anybody is hiring an insurance agent because I'm an insurance agent.
Right.
You might as well put it out there on places where business managers work
Right.
and go through that process.
We updated the salary range. Do we have a salary range?
I don't think we
Because
even.
I don't know how we can work without having a salary.
Well, without the salary range or the job description, I don't think we can really do anything until we have those things in place.
Well, the information that Michelle got about similarly situated boroughs is a start.
The start, right? Yeah. So we need to, firm up the job description. Scott has, yeah.
Scott and I talked about this the past couple of days as well, and he has some potential recommendations for an interim manager as well.
Did you have any other thoughts?
I've sent out feelers. I haven't heard back yet.
Okay.
It's been a couple days.
Okay.
A lot of people are busy.
You're looking for people who retire.
Some people in the network have retired. Other people are vocationally interim managers.
Oh,
So it's kind of a mix of both. The difficult part is that there are only so many of them. The good news, though, is that it's easier to hire a borough manager than it is a finance director right now.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're looking to make a motion to recommend to council to approve a hiring process. I feel like we have a lot of things that are up in the air, but I mean, to me, the process would be to finalize the job description, finalize the range of the salary, and work towards advertising that and getting an interim manager in place. That feels like the framework to me.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the motion or what. I mean, just essentially following the framework from Mike, we can sum it up, but, and my motion would be to, or I guess somebody else is bring it up,
I mean, I can make a motion to approve recommending council approve the hiring process for the borough manager position in terms of trying to get an interim
getting
person in here as quickly as possible, so we have somebody who can learn from Michelle and get us until we find something that suits us. That's my motion.
I'll second it.
That always hurts.
I'll second it, and I have a question.
Better than ever.
Okay. Alright, so we have a motion and a second. Steve has a question.
Just want to ask our council, are we missing anything that you know of?
No, I don't think so. I think, everything, I have spoken to Mike, and it's not like I don't know what's
Right.
going on,
No,
but,
right.
sure. I fully, wholeheartedly endorse what his recommendations are. I think they're in the best interests of the borough, everyone here, and, let's be frank, this period of time when Michelle is still here is going to be short, and there's going to be a burden that will fall on each individual member of council. So to the extent that we can do the best that we can, in this process, I wholeheartedly endorse what Mike is saying.
Okay.
Thank you for listening, Steve.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Do we need to wait for Adam to return to?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, no, he's probably not.
Oh, he's, oh, is he the other? Oh,
He's
okay.
not.
Okay, all right then. A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Oh, okay.
All right, well then we'll move on to discussing the hiring process for the business manager. And I think that Scott has some thoughts on that for us.
Yeah, so I threw together, these were the HR firms we reached out to and had conversations with. Some had, they had apples to oranges comparisons between them. Both Paragon and Argos wanted more information and requested meetings that they could just understand more about the borough before giving rates, that kind of thing. So I gave us, what we have today is what is the info that I was given by these firms. Given now all of this was done prior to last week's announcement, and so given that the environment for this has changed a bit, if council would take any action today, my recommendation would be that we would start the RFP process for an HR needs assessment, which would be the smallest of any sort of engagement, so that we know where we're at with any and all HR responsibilities across the organization as a whole, versus going into a much bigger engagement when we don't have, you know, a full-time manager with longevity, if that makes sense. So that would be my only recommendation, and I would open it up to, you know, more firms obviously than this, but go through a formal RFP process for that. You know, so that would be my contention today.
So,
Can I just say one thing? I apologize. I was mixing the two jobs up when I said that the new person that would bring Michelle's job may bring a finance person, not a finance person bringing in someone to replace Michelle.
I knew that's what you
oh,
meant.
okay,
That's
that's
what
what
I
I took from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to make sure. Took me a minute to figure that out myself.
Okay, all right, so, I mean, I do think we need to focus on the borough manager position above the business manager for the time being, given that Scott is in place. I do, like the idea of a needs assessment so that we know what we have in place and what we might be lacking. I don't see harm necessarily in going through the RFP process and determining,
Even if we
once
go,
we have, you know, scope and price and all of that,
Yeah.
determining if it's something we still wanna move forward with.
yes, that's what I was just gonna say. Even if we go through the process and let's say
Right,
the RP comes back and we don't like the pricing, we could just say no. That's an option.
okay.
So, what exactly, what question are they supposed to be answering for us?
With the needs
Are that,
assessment.
is the needs assessment supposed to recommend how to staff, how to staff our HR needs?
I would think it would look at people, processes, and systems. And so it would be a combination of what is existing staff doing, but also what should an HR function do at a local government. And then what we need in terms of, are we utilizing the technology that we already have to the best of its ability, or those kinds of recommendations. You know, HR isn't my world. I can play in the payroll space, but not the full HR, and I don't want to.
So I think this is sort of sprang from one of the possibilities we had discussed for the position, was making it sort of a combination of finance and HR, correct?
Yes, yes.
So this would help to determine whether or not we have enough of a need in the HR space
Because
to justify making that a position.
well, I would also say,
Or-
you know, ideally you want HR separate from any sort of borough manager position.
Right.
And so
right.
if we're doing any sort of work in the manager's office that is HR work, that should be separate and distinct. I worked at a township where the township manager was an HR professional before she was the township manager,
Okay.
and it did not go well. from that. They did not have a full-time HR individual for years, and the manager was the HR person. Not helpful. So this would be identifying, are there any tasks that all of us here, and I throw myself in that pot as well, all of us here are completing, doing on an ongoing basis that would constitute HR, whether or not that should be a body on site, full-time, or that should be, oh, okay, a firm could do this for cheaper. That's what the needs assessment would do.
Okay, but I presume that internally, our own people can list the HR functions they're performing. We don't need an outsider to tell us that. Whether that's a smart way to
Sure,
manage
sure.
is a separate question, but at least we know who's doing what.
I think there's overlap, everybody's doing a little piece of it.
Everyone's doing some.
We know what we're doing, and they say, well, you're doing this, but you could be doing this more efficiently, and it should be with one person and not
Oh, yeah.
four people.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do have to hand them what we're doing, and how many people it's spread across, and how much overlap there is.
So the overlap can be helpful in terms of that. Not necessarily bad thing.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of heavy lifting to convince me that we need a full-time HR person in this building. A whole lot of heavy lifting. I have a lot of clients in the 50 to 100 space that do not have full-time HR status, unionized and non-unionized. And if needed, they go out and they hire the people to do a certain project or to review things, those kind of things, and then you're not dealing with a salary, pension, health insurance, all that good stuff.
They're probably paying less than $100,000 a year.
A lot less.
The other benefit of going through the RFP process is that it would allow the borough to have, and we do have existing relationships, but it would allow us to have a small experience with someone for really not that much money and determine whether or not that's useful for the future.
Oddly enough, I do think there's a little bit of a market out there for retired HR people. I have a couple clients who are losing their HR people now. I'd be interested to see if they'd be anywhere interested in a couple hours a week, something like that. And I mean 5 at most hours a week, kind of thing.
If you have names and can connect me, that'd be great.
I gotta get permission to connect it.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
And they gotta resign from my client first.
It's always helpful. Okay, so, I mean, we are still lacking a job description with which to advertise this position. And I think we're all in agreement that it needs to come second to hiring the borough manager. I guess the question then comes down to whether, in the meantime, we'd like to proceed with the RFP process. Is that something we can do, given that that's not part, I mean, it's not technically a motion, but that would be an option that has been presented.
Let's think of it in the light that I brought up in the wrong way last time, 5 minutes ago. If we do hire a borough manager,
Right.
could be an interim, could be a full-time person, or it could be both, but maybe one of those, if it's 2 people, has an HR person or has an affiliation with a firm that they have a relationship with. I don't know, but I don't know that we can really do an RFP for an HR affiliation when we're not sure what role exactly the business manager is going to take. I understand that they shouldn't be in HR, so. But then we have the next step, which is the finance manager, the business manager. I don't care if we want to start getting ahead of it. That's fine. But at the end of the day, I just think the first chip has to fall, and the first chip is the biggest chip.
Yeah,
I agree, but I thought what Scott was proposing was not, was an assessment
Just
of
of
the
what we need.
needs,
I
not,
think-
not,
But
not
with the,
the-
okay, and if that's the case, I have no problem with that.
I
I'm
think
not,
that's a good idea. Next step is, yeah.
unless when we hire the next borough manager, the needs change. And now we gotta do another assessment of the needs. And I don't know that it would,
I don't see
if we
that
keep them
as-
totally out of HR, but
I would think you'd be putting the ball on the tee. You know, that
We're
would be my
getting
thought.
one, we would
I
end
just
up
don't wanna
getting
get
one
behind.
firm
listen, I'm not,
paying.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
It
Well,
was just,
there
I
are-
just thought you and I were talking about a little bit different things I wanted to clarify.
Fair.
We're doing an RFP for an assessment, and we're getting that firm's assessment, and the reason they're doing an assessment is to see where we're at, what we need, and also what they're going to charge us. So now we've just narrowed it down to one company, and we have information from that one company, not necessarily others, because I don't know,
You can do a separate one for a second.
I'd stop at what they're gonna charge us, I think it's just
Yeah.
a needs assessment. Cause
So,
then we can decide how
are we
to
talking about
staff it.
doing needs assessment with was it Argos? Is that the one who said they could
There,
do
there
needs
were
assessment?
two,
Two that wouldn't give us
Hubrick
price
offered it
without
and
these.
Argos did as well.
So,
And what did Hubert, I'm sorry, Hubert,
Hubert's at $247 an hour, the first two would not even give us a price until they did an assessment.
But I know Paragon does, they do all of the outsourced HR at Spring Township next
so
door.
I wanna clarify, it's called an HR needs assessment, but they're not assessing solely what we need in an HR capacity, is that right? Are they looking at all of the positions, or are they just looking at HR?
No, they
What-
would be looking at the
This-
HR function, not like all borough
Specifically
positions.
the HR function,
Correct.
not
Yeah.
the positions, okay. Which would help only in identifying where those responsibilities need to fall eventually when we create this.
well, and if the only two that gave us a quote are under 10,000 or $247 an hour, we should try to get an idea of how long we think it might take. Because if it's 100 hours, obviously that's one way. If it's 10 hours, it's another, potentially.
Well, I don't see the harm in going through the RFP process to see what we would even be looking at as far as time, cost, and all of that, and then revisiting at that point to see if it's something that we feel is in need.
Can I ask that maybe we look at what we're doing in-house right now ourselves? Who's doing what, what's on Melissa's plate, what was on Phyllis's plate, who's on Scott's plate, what's on
Mhm.
Kathy's plate? Get that information before we go to put out RFPs.
I had briefly put some of that together with the job descriptions, but yeah, I mean, we can expand upon it.
Yeah, we can just see what we're actually doing.
Yeah, I think that
in-house.
you're on that email from Michelle with the job descriptions and then the additional responsibilities.
And I think it would be
Yeah,
helpful
yeah.
to find out how much time we spend, because I mean, a rough estimate.
Yeah, I mean, that's also, again, it's
Depends
cyclical,
on the
like
time.
Melissa's primarily open enrollment, things like that. You know, Kathy's onboarding with the summer staff or just general hires. I'm offer letters, doing background checks, stuff.
Do we
like
do
that.
open enrollment computerly?
Electronically?
Or do we just have pieces of paper that they sign?
We have pieces of paper.
See, there's something I think we can find out from
Benetcon?
Benetcon to see if they can offer,
But then who's,
Yeah, we'll have a
Definitely.
side conversation about that, Steve.
I can't come up with a name right now. Like, I'm in the business and you know what, EH&D might have access to it. Employee Navigator, it's called. Yeah, our clients would have Employee Navigator if they didn't have it, if they would at least have the opportunity to take it if they wanted it. And it's just sign on, here are your benefits, that they have access to it throughout the year to see what their benefits are if they forget. We go from there. Now, I know we have, well, you'd have to still extend it to the to the maintenance of parks, because even though in our health insurance, they have the other things. And Employee Navigator's not that expensive.
so we need a motion somehow to move forward with this. Is the preference to table this until we review current roles and responsibilities and then revisit it at next month's meeting? That's what I feel like the consensus is, no?
No, I mean, I think we can do those simultaneously.
Do the RFP process as well as review the
Yeah,
internal roles and
because-
responsibilities. I agree with that, okay.
What are your thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, it's a good question.
How much time is this gonna take Michelle and Scott and Melissa to get
Right.
together and get
I it down together, we can probably get that done in an hour or two.
I have a
tops.
template already built.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if this is quick and it's not gonna
Yeah.
cost us money,
No.
like in the grand scheme of things.
I mean, if we're able to table it till they come back and give us that information and then take act on it at council meeting?
I would make the recommendation to do it and then table it at council, depending.
Okay, that's a fair way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could say we'll do it, and then if we find out we don't really wanna do it,
You just
we can
table it
table it then.
Well,
Okay,
we're not
I'm good with that idea.
That's,
Yeah.
That's fair. That's a good way to do it. That way we can get the process sort of rolling, but we can stop the ball from rolling if we need to.
Yeah. Could you turn what you just said into a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we start the RP process for the needs assessment for the HR within the borough. I don't want to say HR position. HR within the borough. At the same time, ask them to sit down and put together what they do. And then we'll make a decision if we want to continue with that process. I think that's a motion.
Well said.
Hmm?
Well said.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, do you have any discussion? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright. And we're gonna move on to discuss the hiring process for the part-time administrative support position.
Out of respect for technician Lambert's time, can we go out of order?
Sure.
So I had requested to table this at the last meeting so that I could get additional information from, our actuary in regards to 2 additional options that the fire department had asked to look at. The revised study was sent out with the agenda docs. Those additional options, give me 1 second. Normal retirement at an age of 55 and a completion of 25 years of service, commencing at age 60 with a benefit equal to 50% of the average compensation. Normal retirement eligible at the attainment of age 55 or the completion of 25 years of service, commencing at age 60 with a benefit equal to 50% of the average compensation. And then the last is normal retirement eligibility at the attainment of age 60 and the completion of 25 years of service, commencing at age 60 with a benefit equal to 50%. Looking at the cost comparisons for those additional options, just to go actually back over all of them. The additional cost from the current plan for option 1, the additional cost would be $40,612. Option 2 would be $134,281. Option 3 would be $127,295. Option 4, excuse me, $111,676. Options 5 and 6 are identical in terms of cost. It would be an additional $192,140, and then option 7 is an additional $191,000.
And for public consumption, that is all annual numbers, not a one-time number.
Correct, and this is also with the caveat that the fire department union did offer, first year they would contribute 1%, second year they would contribute 3%, third year they would contribute 5%, and then stay at 5%, which is identical to what the police department does. The actuary did tell me that this study and cost analysis was only based off of year 1 at the 1%. They couldn't do the additional year study. I'm not quite sure why with the 3%, 5% being factored in. I also confirmed, they were looking at actuary tables similar to what firefighters' life expectancy actually is and similar first responders, and they did say yes. Also, to kind of go back to last month's conversation, other than 3 grandfathered fire department employees, the rest of them are all on the defined contribution, which is effectively the borough takes 10% of each of their paychecks, puts it into an investment account for them specifically. They get annual statements showing the balance in that account. However, the concern is in the case of a disability, which we recently had happen, someone who is not vested with 10 years of service would get nothing, and in the case of someone that was vested, even if we reduce the vesting time period to 0, the concern is if you have an employee that's only here for a few years, they could be permanently disabled and walking away with, say, less than $10,000, which doesn't seem like a fair shake to me. Technician Lambert, do you have anything you want to add? Not to pick on the spot.
Thank you guys for listening and entertaining the idea. We understand that it's a big cost and, you know, we don't know the right answer either. We're just hoping to work with you guys and see what we can do.
So, my question is, I believe your contract is coming up, correct?
Yes, we should be negotiating by the end of this year.
Why would we just make this part of the negotiating process? It's too late to affect the person who's on disability now. God forbid someone goes out of disability again, I get it, I totally understand.
Correct. Really, I'm not gonna speak for the union. I wanted to bring it up, if nothing else, just to get it on your radar that this is a problem and it needs to be fixed immediately.
The other thing we gotta look at is, could we, and I don't know that it's, I do this for a living, maybe I should jump on it and take a look at it, but, I couldn't do anything with it anyway, but is it possible to get a disability policy for firefighters that would pay them till age 65? Like an insurance policy, as opposed to doing it through the pension?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna take that one for the team from the last meeting.
Yeah, I didn't get around to it, I
Fair.
forgot, so I apologize.
That's fine.
But if you want me to do that, I would need, and I wanna be very clear, we're on film, 2 different films, that I will not sell it, I will just get the quotes and see what the information looks like. I just need a census of all I need the name, gender, date of birth, what their actual positions are within the fire company,
I can get you that.
and their salaries.
Name,
Name, gender, date of birth,
do you need specific day or just year?
year what?
Year.
Date of birth. Name, gender, date of birth, their occupation. I think you can pretty much just make it all
Firefighter,
firefighters, yeah.
technician, captain.
Yeah, that, just put the technician captains in there. I don't think that really matters for the insurance companies, they're all firefighters. I'm not expecting this to be a cheap process, but maybe it's cheaper than that.
That'd be great, thank you.
Yes.
And I'll do it for an effective date of 6/1, just to see what it looks like.
Okay.
And hope my employer doesn't look at the film and see I'm doing something for free.
There. It's your community service. I know the question had come up, and again, not to put you on the spot, but do you have an estimated time frame for when you think you may want to start negotiations?
Yeah, we're getting our draft ready, so we name a date and we can sit down and do initial discussion.
Okay.
Good. Sorry, it's just a thought. So I think in this case, we should table what we're talking about at this point.
Table this.
So I'll make the recommendation to table it with just getting more information, not just about the disability, but Michelle, can they give us a 3 and 5 year cost estimate? I mean, year 2 and 3 cost estimate on the 3 and 5%
I
contribution?
can ask them to. I didn't get a strong reason why.
If they can't, just say, then we'll have to find somebody who can. See if they say that.
Are they saying they can't possibly because they don't know what the negotiated salaries are going to be and the price?
I'm sure that was a
part of
factor.
it?
We could boilerplate it and just say, let's use the assumption
Based off
of like,
this information, just
Yeah.
so we roughly know what it would look like.
They can,
With the understanding that
They
it's
can.
not.
older. I feel like Fred doesn't wanna hear from me anymore.
because I think the 1, 3, and 5 is a relatively fair offer. That's not where I'm going with it. If we're doing this because of the disability, we need to find out the other part, and I'll do that. Well, I'll have that in 2 weeks. If you get me the census this week before I go to Florida next week, I'll have it out, and I'll have it back when I come back. And I might be on the miles, I don't know. Because you're not exactly the job that they like to cover.
Okay, alright, so we have a motion to table. And a second, any additional discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
Do I need any approval, Heidi, to do what I'm doing?
No.
Okay, perfect.
Alright, then that motion carries. Alright.
Thank you for
You are
coming.
welcome to stay, but you don't have to.
Have a great day, guys.
Bye, thank you.
It's speeding, okay,
Wait,
that
sort
way.
of wanted to get out of here.
That light's on. Tell me about you. Take my computer.
Alright, we'll circle back here then to number 5, item D, discussing the hiring process for the part-time administrative support position. job description approved by council in November of 2025. Michelle, do you want to give an update on that?
Sure, so this was advertised on Indeed 2 weeks ago. We're up to 70, 80, no, 84. As of this morning, we're up to 84 applicants. Honestly, going through them, there might be 5 tops that are worth interviewing, so don't get excited.
I'm more
The
excited
goal,
to hear that there's only 5 worth it.
What
You
is
have
that?
5 that are worth it.
I only need 1. The goal for this was to hire and have in place by May, and that's what was budgeted for as well. Key importance to this too is especially talking about the utilities clerk position. Not only will this administrative support position take a lot of work off of Melissa's plate to free her up to do some other things, it's also coverage and backup for the front desk. So there are a lot of times that Melissa's trying to do meeting minutes while covering the front desk while the receptionist is at lunch, just because that's the way the cookie crumbles. So it is a very important position just in terms of the day-to-day and keeping things and the workflow moving around here.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting them in sooner rather than later allows them to get onboarded so that when you are gone or when something, just for the next phase, we have somebody who can at least do these basic things, knows them, and can ask, just get them in place. That's my opinion. I understand we're looking for job descriptions for everybody, but this is something we determined last year was needed, and I don't see why we wouldn't just move forward with getting it into place so that you have another set of hands during the
It's a
transition.
part-time position, non-health insurance related,
Correct.
non-pension related,
Correct.
non-retirement plan related.
Correct. No benefits period.
The budget wise though.
And what do we think the budgeted number was?
We estimated 27 an hour.
Okay. I mean, and you still feel that this is applicable despite the other job descriptions needing to be updated?
Yes.
And and you think it's good even before you are no longer here to have someone on board?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, this is a lot of day-to-day administrative, requires
Basically, maybe-
time-sensitive responses, keeps things moving position.
Okay. Alright,
Okay.
so what do we need to do?
Alright, so what, I guess next steps then are just for you guys to choose who you're gonna interview. Is that, this isn't something typically that you would involve us in, is that right? Or-
No, I would bring the final candidate, actually typically what we do is we'd issue an offer letter, and then once I do the background check and everything else, I would bring the motion here for recommending council to hire.
Okay. And just for my clarity, the hiring process, if a job description is approved, it's at the borough manager's discretion to post that, or how does that typically work? I didn't know that this was a live job posting, and so I wanna make sure that I am familiar with the process.
If it's approved and in the budget, that to me is the key, that it's approved in the budget
Okay.
as well. Then yes, based off of timing and need and the budget start date that was determined, I've never come back and asked for
Okay.
approval.
Yeah, no, I'm not looking for you to approve, I just was trying to understand the process, just so that I'm familiar moving forward.
And ultimately your final approval is the recommendation to hire and signing off on it.
Okay. Okay, we don't need a motion for that one, so we can move along unless anybody else has any questions. No, okay, then the utility coordinator position, we need to discuss the position. Becoming a unionized position to allow this person to administratively support the public works department while also being permitted to perform meter reading tasks.
So this is part of the bigger picture for when Jim Babb eventually retires and figuring out the transition future plan for the Public Works Department. Kim, who is currently the utilities clerk, would help with a lot of the day-to-day administrative work that Greg's gonna need help with. Everything from keeping track of their CDL licensing and who has to go for drug test when, to scheduling some of the maintenance repairs with different contractors like HVAC or whatever's needed at various locations. works very closely with Teamsters to make sure it is a white collar job. There is one caveat in there that in an emergent situation, so, you know, say it's the time of the month that Kim needs to go out and do the monthlies to do her utility billing, and there's a water main break that is all hands on deck. She could go out and do something like that, but nothing blue collar beyond that that would be considered taking work away from them. So this is twofold in that you would need to approve the job description. The second part, excuse me, the second part is approving the position going into the Teamsters Union. There's also been a lot of back and forth with Dylan Cerulli, who is the Teamsters representative for the Parks and Maintenance Union, and then Dylan Moore, who's the president of our Parks and Maintenance Union and a borough employee. I've spoken to Mike Miller about this. I've also spoken to Heidi about this. The Teamsters would prefer to move forward with, for white collar, you're looking at 4 employees. You have the analyst in the police department, who is a full-time hourly wage position. You have the utility clerk position, which is a full-time hourly wage position. You have 2 part-time positions that don't get any benefits, and one of my questions to Teamsters was, if I'm a part-time employee, why am I paying you union dues when I'm not getting any negotiation on benefit? Like, I just didn't understand the rationale there. There's 2 ways we can move forward with this. Simply, the utility clerk could sign a card and it could go through. Or more than 50% of the white collar hourly could sign cards, which I suspect may happen, and then it would go to the BLRB for review. Either way, we can fight it, but we will not win. So we could put up a fight against it. I don't really see the point. If they want to go into the union, there's not really much that we could stop them outside of, we could limit the part-time positions. A follow-up conversation with Dylan Cerulli from Teamsters, we could limit it so that only the full-time hourly employees, which would then be 2, go in. And again, I go back to as a part-time employee, I don't know why I would want to pay dues.
So this utility coordinator position already exists and it's already Kim?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not adding another employee.
No. It's slightly expanding the scope of her duties,
Okay.
and
She's part-time.
no, Kim's full-time.
Kim's full-time, okay.
She start working from the first draw.
Correct. Which also makes, I mean, right now, the water department's here a lot to communicate back and forth about meter reads or what her schedule is or different things that they both need.
So the net cost proposition is 0?
There would actually potentially be a little bit of a cost savings initially, cause she would go on, health insurance.
Would drop.
They've got good health insurance.
Well, would that, my question is, would that open the door for, other benefit, like, not defined contribution, but defined benefit? For those positions instead of like our 10% DC plan? In future years, would they?
I mean, so that's already applicable to the union. Anyone hired after
Okay,
2016 is
okay.
on the DC
Perfect,
plan.
perfect, okay.
So just so you're clear on what his question
Yeah.
was, there's a very specific line in the sand, pre-2016, post-2016 for non-police department or fire department employees as to defined benefit and defined contribution pension plans. Anyone hired after 2016 is on the defined contribution plan.
So this would not change that?
No,
Thank you.
So they remain on defined contribution.
correct.
Do we have the current job description so that we can see how this has been expanded?
Yes, we do. I don't have it currently available.
Okay.
The new job description work needs to be done.
I'm sorry.
The
Like,
work,
there's a
the
lot.
work, the work in the new job description is work which needs to be done.
Yes, and I mean, some of this too is right now, the utility clerk is the backup for the front desk, handles a lot of permitting, the rental permits that are going to the administrative support position, that part-time position we just discussed.
And how is this assisting us with Jim's retirement when
The long-term plan is not necessarily to have a public works director and assistant public works director.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense, personally makes sense to me to approve the position and accept it becoming a union position. Next. Do you want to say something?
No. We don't need to come up with,
Okay, does anyone wanna make a motion? Well, what do we need here? We need a motion to
You need two motions
table,
actually.
approve, or deny, recommending the position become a member of the Teamsters Union.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
One second.
Is she okay with it? She wants this?
The preference.
If nothing else, it's better health insurance for our family.
Oh my God, don't start that with me.
It's cheaper for the borough.
It's cheaper for the boroughs.
That I can agree with.
Okay, alright, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Alright, and then we need a motion to table, approve, or deny, recommending the position as discussed by the committee.
Motion approved.
We have a motion to approve, do we have a second?
Let me ask you a question. Salary wise, is this gonna change?
Currently, no, in the next contract, that's something they could certainly negotiate with the other positions.
Okay.
there's the devil that you get to that
Well,
list.
that's, yeah, yeah.
But by then, we may not have, we may only have a borough, we may have one less position.
And so her job description isn't expanding, it's just, it's shifting.
No,
She's giving
It's
some things up, but she's taking things on.
Right, it's expanding, but it's also shrinking because they're pulling stuff off for like permitting stuff, just going to the part-time admin.
With the
No
goal
more
that
time,
at
that's- is that
retirement,
Right, no more time,
Yeah.
yeah, it's expanding but shrinking, it's
with the
just
goal that
shifting, I should say.
when there's a retirement, we might not have to fill the need of another role. It's the only way you're selling on this.
but,
I know,
but
that's-
what,
we're on that.
what responsibilities is she inheriting that are currently being done by Jim? I mean, I don't, I understand that
She's
he's
taking work off of
Greg.
Greg,
Greg.
actually.
I'll keep work on
Right,
it.
right, so that Greg can be coming in and then.
Okay.
And then some of her job shifted over to the part-time. I
Okay.
second.
I agree, I would just like to see the other job description so that I can understand the shifts that have taken place, because I
I can send it out to you, I
Yeah.
can also point out, so the proposed job description that's up on the screen, notify appropriate personnel at Borough Hall of emergency related events, prepare the internal and external correspondence, for just different projects, but primarily the 50/50 sidewalk. I mean, Greg just inherited that from Jim and it's a ton of work. The monthly reporting for DEP and anything that goes along with that. Electronically filing the CS data reports, which is the software program that the water department started using last year to, GPS locate all of the things out in the field. Saving the stormwater and sanitary sewer televisings and documentation, and then really the scheduling, coordination, and maintenance, that's all stuff that she's taking, or would be taking.
Okay, yeah, I'm not in opposition, just before council, I'd like to see, just so that I can understand where the changes took place.
What would be the effective date of these changes?
I'm sorry,
What would be the effective date of these changes?
the job description,
When
or
would
like
she-
when would this,
And moving to the union.
I mean, the union is separate to the side, cause that has to go through the PLRB, not until we would have the administrative support position filled, cause, I mean, that training is also gonna be partially utility clerk, showing them the rental permits, the regular permits, everything else.
So then why we need to vote on this now, why not table it until that point?
Is the PLRB part?
Oh, yeah, because the PLR,
Time.
that's a good answer, so, thanks.
In the event that the part-time admin we hire should not work out for any reason, where would those responsibilities land?
I mean, I think you would then just fill
Hire
that
another one.
We
position.
just need to, okay.
Would not be the
Okay.
first time we had to.
No.
So that, receptionist position was a
Okay.
Alright, we
Yes,
have a
it is.
motion and a second then to approve recommending to council the utility coordinator position as discussed by the committee. So we have, all in favor? Any opposed? Alright, then we are to the end, we are at public comment period.
I missed the vote. I was gonna talk about changing the finance, and I thought I was gonna talk about that as part of the interim business manager with Scott here. I don't know if this is appropriate time to talk about it now or not.
I mean, I don't know that it really pertains
I
to
think it's
personnel.
administrative, because what I would recommend is changing the finance from one day to another day. So,
So
at
that-
your pleasure, whatever you,
Yeah, that would need to be discussed at the finance and administration.
Changing the day of the finance meeting?
yes,
Yeah, that we will discuss in finance.
Yeah.
can you put that on the agenda then for the next
Well,
finance?
let's talk and see what you wanna do first. Let's
Oh,
figure
sure.
out- Yeah.
Sure,
Mhm.
yeah, I can talk, I have exactly what I want to do. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any additional public comment?
I'd like to raise concern regarding the borough's official Facebook page. There's an important difference between allowing open public discussion and allowing comments that mock or disparage individual residents to remain visible on an official government platform. When those kinds of comments are left up, it discourages residents from participating and undermines public trust in the borough's communications. This is relevant to the Personnel Committee because someone within Borough Administration is responsible for managing that page and deciding what remains visible. So I'd simply ask, what moderation standards apply to the borough's official social media? Who is responsible for enforcing those standards? And what steps will be taken to ensure the page remains a place for constructive public engagement? So yes, I think we have to keep probably in addition to this is how much this opens the borough to accusations or litigation, or because if we encourage such comments, then I think the residents will eventually end up paying for it. So I think I know a few things about this, and I think keeping the hygiene on those comments is, nobody argues about people speaking their minds, but the line should be drawn at insults and other disparaging comments. And I would urge you to look into it, and that's about it. I agree with the comments that the finance needs to be moved. There's nowhere that says that it's, we have to keep it in the same week or the same day.
Those comments can be made at the finance meeting when we're discussing.
These are
That-
comments not on the agenda.
Pertaining to the personnel committee.
Sure.
And
Fair enough.
Okay,
Got
and
it.
I would like to respond actually to your statement. We do have a social media guideline in place. We cannot delete comments. It's a right to free speech to
Yeah,
have those
it's
comments
not
on there. There is a line, a defined line as to when it is appropriate and when it is not. And I don't think it's appropriate to say that we are encouraging those comments because that is not the case, but we also cannot delete them just because we may disagree or not.
They're insulting, and, right?
It's
So-
I mean, I think that's at the discretion of each person, but there is a clear line if there's racial or derogatory
So-
comments made, or if there are threats of violence, there is an appropriate protocol in place to document and delete those. I'm familiar with the comment that you're referring to, and that does not fall under those guidelines. So we do
So
have a policy.
is-
It is something that I looked into, was discussed, and we have a policy in place. So
Is that policy public?
is there a social media policy published
Where?
somewhere on the website?
I don't see why it would be subject to disclosure under rights to know, but it was publicly voted on by council 21, 22.
Okay. I have it. I can send it to you. I have the
Okay.
document.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment? All right, meeting is adjourned.
Shannon, what would you like to talk?
Well,
Take me about 3 minutes. It's up to you.
You can shut right down.
the,
Basic concept is, I don't like, up until January, we did March, we reviewed